The hell was that? And I broke it. All right, so time to do some brake lines. So we're gonna do the master cylinder to our ABS pump. We're using 5/16 stainless steel line for that. So we got that right here. Never worked with stainless steel before, so this is a first for me. This is a tool that I'm using to flare them. Never used this before either. Bought this brand new. From what I read, it works very well with stainless. So let's give it a shot. Alright, so I have one brake line down. Did the master cylinder position number 1. Figured I'd give it a test run, figure out how I want to do it, and then kind of show the way that I did it. I don't really like how close it is right here, but I cannot shorten this just because of the block that will clamp around this when it gets flared. With this nut on there, I just don't have enough room, and then same with the tool bender. When I try to bend this tube, it has to be long enough for it to catch right here and then wrap right here. So it's like a minimum of 1 3/4 inches. So not much I can do about that unless there's some type of different bender I'd be able to use. It's not touching anywhere, so I'm not worried about it. So this is the template that I made. So the next one's gonna go kind of like that. I'm gonna follow the same pattern. All this is a aluminum TIG rod or filler. It bends really easy and it holds its position. Then I take the measurements off of this and transfer it over to this tube. So this is the tool that I'm using. It works pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with it, especially with working with stainless. But it's very simple to use. So we got this block that goes around your tubing. It is sized to fit. So this is 5/16 what I'm working with. Essentially what you do is you push everything forward with it being inside the block, and then you can use this to kind of hold it down in place firmly. And then with our first position, or I guess 0, this is our starting position, you crank this back, it's going to push the line and the block all the way until it hits right here, and then it's going to level out that stainless steel tubing. So it's actually a little bit too tight, so it should push all the way back. Yeah, just like that. So when it's all the way back, just crank this down. And with this being stainless, it takes a lot of force, so I always crank this harder than I normally would, you know, if I was using like copper or something like that. So that's 0. Then we're working on 5/16, so right here. So that'll line up with that, 5/16. And then we're gonna crank this. Till it stops. You can see that is the first position. And now we go to our second position. Here we go. Perfect flare. So I'm gonna put this in my tube bender with the nut on. I'm gonna try to get it as close of a bend as possible. You know, I'm not gonna try to measure out and bend. I'm just gonna max it out as close to this tip. Try to get it behind this line, and we'll see if I can do it. I'm not really sure if it's gonna go the way I want it to. I don't think it will, but we'll give it a shot. I gotta figure out a better way to get a bend here that's tighter. Alright, so I think I got this where I like it. I'm pretty happy with this so far. So I'm just gonna bottom out this fitting as far as it'll go inside there. And then I got it marked right here to where I think it looks like it's bottomed out inside here, and then I'm gonna add a little bit extra length for my tube flaring tool. Because as I go to flare this, I'm going to lose a little bit of length, so I want to add some so that way you know, I'm exactly where I want it to be. So this might have to go back a little bit, which should be alright, because right there is even. Yeah. If it doesn't look good here, I could always bend the back a little bit just to take some of the slack out of it up here and make it look even with this bend there. I want to make sure I do not forget my nut. You know how much that would suck if I, you know, spent like 30 minutes figuring this out and then would have to redo it all. So actually, before I put that nut on, I'm going to cut this down. So we're going to cut it to this outside mark here. What I'm going to do is use a cutoff wheel, and then I'm just going to file the end to make sure it's flat, clean out the inside, and then I'm going to file the outside. All right, let's try this again. So I got it filed down, inside and outside edges cleaned. Right now this is pushed forward, and then we're on our starting number 0, I guess. So this is just lightly snugged, and I'm going to use this tool. Push it all the way back, pushes the line back. Everything is aligned now. I can crank it down, lock it in place. So again, doing 5/16. Looks good. Down to step 2. I didn't forget my nut. And there we go. Perfect flare. Looks great. Not bad. I wish I could get it a little bit more straight. That front one is angled back further, but just because of the metal right here in this apron, how it comes up, I just don't have the room to do that. They're even though. Pretty close at least. Alright, so I took these lines back out. I didn't like the way that this one looked with it going over to the reservoir in front of the pump and then dropping down and it being really close to the reservoir. I just don't like that and how close it was and what it looked like. So we're going to run it across to the position number 2 brake line. We're going to drop it down together and then go across, come up, and follow the same pattern. That being said, let's get to it. We're going to start on this one. We'll make a template, bend it out, flare everything, and then test fit it. We're going to try to straighten this as much as I can, especially on this end. There's a big bend. It's pretty straight. A lot better than it was, at least. What the hell was that? And I broke it. Just the edge of this broke off. Okay. So I'm gonna make a mark in the direction that I want the tube to be bent. So it's gonna be in line with this. So now we can test fit it. I think I'm gonna call it quits on that. Later down the road, we're gonna do the front and rear brakes, each individual lines. I have to run a line here, and then to a line lock, and then to the calipers for the front on both sides. We're putting a line lock here and a line lock over there. And then we'll run the backs. I got some brackets already made a while back for the back brakes. I just need to run a line to it. And that's it. The brake system will be done at that point.